All right, hello everybody. Welcome to this new live session of live support. My name is Cedric. I'm a functional consultant. My role here today is to answer your questions in live. If you have any questions regarding Odoo, any functional questions regarding Odoo, regarding the applications, regarding how to use them, regarding what you basically, if you're blocked somewhere, you can always ask to me anything in the chat, and I will try to answer them as good as possible. Now, of course, in the beginning we don't have much viewers because people still have to arrive. Today the purpose is that we will be streaming from 10 o'clock until around noon. At noon-ish, we will take a short break of 5 minutes, and then we'll continue until 1 p.m. Then we'll have a break as well for the afternoon, and then our colleagues in San Francisco will take over again around 6 p.m. Belgian time. So, you can shoot with your first questions. At the moment we have none. So what I'm proposing is that I'll start with a small demo about the most frequently asked questions that I have with my customer in general. Please feel free to react on the chat if you have any questions remarking what I'm showing, or if you have any additional remark or any question regarding what I'm showing, of course. Our purpose here today is to answer most of your questions. Please try to stay into the functional side of the presentation, because I will not be able to answer any technical questions, and even though I don't think that you want me to. Alright, we have two first viewers. We have Jim T that says hello, and Big Ami that says hey. So we have a couple of first questions. So first from Civit Software Services. Is this Banu from Civit Service? This is Banu. Okay, so he's introducing himself. All right, well, go ahead with your question. Then we have a first question from Pietr Ceskors. I have no idea where you're from. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name the wrong way, but are you answering questions about different versions or of Odoo, or only version 10? Mainly version 10, actually. So we will try to focus on version 10. I will also show all the demos into the latest SaaS version. So that means SaaS 15, which is the one that you're watching right now. Now I have also one enterprise ready, so that is the V10 exactly, and I have a run bot in V15 as well, so I can answer different questions regarding the different V10s, but of course we try to stay in the V10. Now you can always ask your question regarding other versions. If by any chance I know it, I will answer it, but if I don't, then you have to apologize me, because indeed the previous versions have been quite a long time ago, so we forget a bit about them. So always shoot, you never know, and if you do, I'll try to answer as good as I can, Piotr. Then we have Eike Schreet, who is asking, in Odoo 11, does Odoo Studio get an update so you have more possibilities to change fields and how they are processed? Well, Odoo 11 at the moment is not released yet, so we cannot say too much about it. What I can say is, first of all, that we will release it during our Odoo experience in October. If you would like to attend, please make sure to go on our website. It's very easy. You go simply to odoo.com here, and then basically you have a free registration link here where you can. But so, Odoo Studio does have some improvement. What I can tell you about is that we improved the fact of being able to add new views. So for instance, you can have a new, if I remember correctly, a new Gantt view. We can also edit filters and add new default filters, or construct our own filters. But that's about what I personally remember of what I saw into the newest version. Of course, to have the complete description, or to have the complete release of Odoo 11 in terms of Studio, you should wait for the Odoo experience, or even better, even attend it. I hope that answers your question, Eike. But I would strongly advise you to go have a look, because we did do improvements into Odoo Studio, because it's one of our core apps now, of course. Hope it answered your question, Eike, and hope that we will be seeing you at the release. So we have a first thank. So Jim T, how to speed up PDF generation in Odoo 10? How to speed up? All right, that's a bit of a strange question for me, Jim, because normally the generation of PDFs are quite fast. So for instance, if we take the normal generation of, I don't know, like a sale order, for instance, for people who are just joining in, what Jim is asking is when you're creating like a quotation or a sales order or an invoice or anything else, he's wondering if we can speed up the generation of PDFs. So just for a small demo, I'm here on a SaaS database, so this is what our standard solution basically. I'll create a quotation for a first client that I will call, let's say, Jill. Here we go. We save it. I will add a new product that I will call, we can say, I don't know, like a car, right? Here we go. A car, order quantity of 10. Anyhow, I save it, and once I'm saved it, I am indeed able to print it. So when I click on print quotation order, normally they load here, and then they are quite fastly produced. Even when I'm sent them by email, I have a default template here, who immediately, of course, I have to fill in Jill's email, but at test.com, because I want to send her by email, and the PDF is automatically generated. Now, so what I'm wondering, Jim, is that I guess that you are not specially talking about the standard PDFs. So our standard PDFs are, in my opinion, quite easy to load. If yours take more time than what I just showed you here, please make sure to open a ticket at our support by going to odoo.com/help. That way we could investigate if you have a particular issue. If, however, you made custom-made PDFs and that they have a lot of code in it, well, then it might take a bit longer depending on how your partner or how you developed your PDF file. Of course, the more codes and the more you are requesting the system to calculate, how slower it will be. So in those two cases, either one, you go back to your partner to ask him if he can make the generation of PDFs faster. If you notice that my PDF is generated faster than yours, you might have a small issue on your database, so please sure to refer back to our support department so that we can have a precise look into your database. I hope it answers your question. If you have any other, please make sure to come back to me. All right, so let's see what we have more here. So we have Fabio here, Fabio Thielen at 10:05, so 5 minutes ago. Can you show how to set up the enterprise version on Docker containers? I'm not sure I understand the exact question, but the problem is that I cannot show you how to set up an enterprise version here because I only have access to the online versions. So the enterprise versions can be implemented by partners, but it is not our job as Odoo consultants to implement them. So as you're in local, I cannot help you directly into your local database, into your local server, because I do not have access to them. So unfortunately, I won't be able to help you with that. However, we have, of course, a lot of partners that provide that kind of service, Fabio. Then we have a question from CV Software Services. Are all 3 modules of version 8 available in 10 as well? From what I know of, yes. So from what I know of, everything that was available in V8 was also available in the community. So if you go into either one, the community of V10, what was free in V8 will be free as well in V10. Of course, if you step over to Enterprise, you have more modules and you have more possibilities, and then but it becomes a paid database. So the answer is yes. The only thing is that if you stay in community, so the free version, and that you are in V10, you will have all the basic modules. What you won't have is like the new modules that we developed beside it, like barcode scanning, like VoEP, if I'm not mistaken, like the new design, etc. So normally yes, but if you have a more concrete example, please make sure to tell me. Then we have once again CV Software Services. You're very, very, very present today. Regarding barcodes of products, are they handled barcode scanners compatible with Odoo 8 and 10? So basically, normally, almost all barcode scanning should be compatible with Odoo as long as they are USB barcodes. If you want to be exactly certain of which barcodes are compatible, you can always search on Google on Odoo hardware. All right, and if you look on Odoo hardware, you have the Odoo point. Now it's in French, so it's Odoo point of sale in English. And in here you have some references of the barcodes that we recommend, basically. But usually, like it's explained here, any USB barcode that simply reads the barcode signal should be sufficient to work with Odoo on the laptop version or with the postbox if you're using the point of sale integration. All right, Sivit, I hope that answers your questions. So we have Eike. Odoo 9 and Odoo 10 are much lower than Odoo 8, I feel. Is it because of the change of the API? Normally not. So the main purpose is that between Odoo 9 and 10, it was supposed to go even faster. That is one of the demonstrations that we did that we did during the Odoo experience last year. Why? Because we changed the entire API exactly, and the core structure, if I remember correctly. I'm not tech, so I won't be able to tell you what we changed exactly in the type of code, but the main purpose was to make it faster. Normally, between 9 and 10, there should be improvements, not deprovements. So if you feel that your Odoo V8 was very faster than the Odoo V9 and V10, especially if you're on our SaaS, I would recommend to ask our support department to have a look at your database, because that is, of course, not the purpose. Normally, you know, if you're in a standard, so if you're in local, this is an Odoo 10, it should go quite fast. Like if you go into the quotations, you create a new quotation, you try to use, I don't know, like anything. I don't think that, in my opinion, it's quite fast. So, I mean, if you notice that this looks faster than what you have, it might be interesting to investigate what is going on your base. But the main purpose normally was that the 9 and 10 was faster than the V8, especially because the V8 had more codes in it than the V9 and the V10. All right, then we have a question of Victor Torobalba. All right, Victor. Once again, guys, if I'm mispronouncing your names, please don't be angry, because we try to help all of people all around the world. But sometimes you have unpronounceable names for a Belgian guy like myself. So please don't feel offended, of course. So Victor, you're asking me, is it possible to configure that the user can only see their POs? That's a good question, actually. Normally, if we go into the settings, maybe I'll use my my runbot here so that we can test it out together. We can have a quick look at the user rights. Right? I guess that's because it's quite of a specific question. You checked that already, but normally in the purchase order, so in the sales, of course, you can say that you only want to see people to see their own leads. So that is quite easy. That's the sales configuration here by own documents only. All right. But in the purchase order, that's actually a good question, because I think that you only have user and manager. So indeed, if I'm user here in the purchase order, I guess that if I log on into the same base, no, sorry, that is not what I wanted to do. Here we go. So I'm now logging in with a normal user, so the demo one that only has the smallest of purchases. And we go into the purchase. I think he will be able to see all POs, indeed, even the ones that were not created by him. But I think that's also the issue, because actually, in contrary of the sales order, there is not really like a purchase manager field. So there is not. You can see who created it, but there is not a field that takes that information. So I don't think that it is something that you can configure in standards, Victor. However, of course, with development and customization, I think it shouldn't be that hard, because we can add a new field, say that we will record the one who creates the PO, and then change the security rules to only show your own PO. So it's doable with customization and with developments, but not in the standard version. So if you're interested about to know what would be the cost of implementation of the developments, please make sure to contact our sales departments. They will be able to estimate for you the required time to develop such a feature. I hope it helps, Victor. All right. So Ike, does Odoo 11 support multi-core processing? It is PostgreSQL based. That is a technical question, Ike. I'm very sorry. So like I said in the beginning, I'm a functional consultant, and the main purpose of here today is to answer functional questions about Odoo. I'm not able to answer technical questions, so what I would recommend is that you ask your question to our support, or that you wait for one of our live support sessions that has a technical consultant. So I won't be able to help you regarding that, Ike. I'm sorry. Jim says thanks, you're very welcome. Then we have Predator who's come back. Indeed, so someone that comments slow PDF generation might be due to your internet speed as well as your server specs. Indeed, so that is something that you might check as well, Jim. And indeed, we have Uri Franco here, who is a very aware about Odoo, who said you can get to that with rules. So you go to settings, technical, security rules, and record rules. So indeed, so that is the way to develop and to change the configuration regarding is to change the record rules. I would advise you to be quite careful with that, for the simple reason that modifying the record rules is it's not easy. Of course, I guess that you might have some technical knowledge, which is very good. But so always try it first on a duplicated database. And as well, because it needs quite a lot of analysis, meaning that the record rules often depends on other rules, that often depends on other rules, etc. Basically, if you want like to prohibit someone to be able to see invoices, for instance, you could change the record rules for that. But there is not only one way for people to see invoices. They can go from the sales app, they can go from the invoice app, they can go from the inventory app. You know, there are different kinds of ways to reach that. To reach that place. So it's not super easy to modify record rules because it requires quite a lot of analysis. But Rui is right by saying that you can go to the record rules into the technical settings and have a look if you have a technical knowledge to change the rules, basically. All right, so Rui already answered that it was technical. Perfect. Okay, got it. Odoo hardware. Perfect. We have Wastehead 100 that says hello. Okay, we have quite a lot of questions here. I'll just have a quick look to the new messages here. All right, so we are at 10:18. So oh, well, I'm only 1 minute behind. So that's perfect. So Anna says, is Odoo supports to connect wide scale model MA LP16 label price scale? I'm not sure about that exact model, to be completely honest, but what we do support is this wide scale. So, oh, sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. Basically, in the wide scales here, we have some that we recommend. So I would have a look at that one, and the easiest way actually to check if it's compatible or not is to try it out, because of course we cannot check every different wide scale on the market. There are a lot. So I would advise you to do a test, but I'm not 100% sure that your particular model will fit. If you want a more detailed explanation, maybe send a small ticket to our support team on odoo.com/help, so that we can check immediately with our post development team. Okay, so how can a quotation template be changed so that the product default codes will not show up on it? So, motor parts, we have already an answer. So you can edit the QF view in the settings, technical, users and views. Indeed, so you can change the QF view yourself from a technical standpoint, of course, but that's once again, that's a technical feature. Be careful while doing that. If you know what you're doing, fine. If you don't, maybe ask the help of an integrating partner or of our dev team. So when you say that the quotation templates, motor parts, you do agree that it's the PDF file, right? Because we can also change quotation templates in here. So if I go into the into my runbot here, and we go into the sales, and from the sales we go into quotations. right? We have, when we create something that is called quotation template here. So that is a way to have a predefined template that automatically fills in. I don't see any references to the internal refs, so I guess that what you were meaning was indeed the PDF file. So you can change it, of course, but it is something technical as well. So it's not in our standard to change the PDF file. Alright, so then we have someone from Seitaya Gavanagavapu. I'm very sorry once again if I'm not pronouncing your name right. Hello, is there a structured way to migrate custom Odoo 8 modules to Odoo 10? Thank you. In terms of migration, that's a specific question. I'm a bit hesitating about it because it's not something that I'm doing usually. If you made your custom modules within Odoo Enterprise, yes. So basically, if you developed the customization with us and that you're on our SaaS, then of course the migration will include your customization, and then you can simply ask to migrate into our website migration.odoo.com. Now, if you developed it yourself, we can migrate it, but I think that then you will have a paid subscription, of course, because otherwise it will be quite a lot of work to check your database. I'm not 100% sure about the rules, the internal rules of the migration team, so don't take my word for it. What I would advise is to send a quick email to our support department to ask the question, so that you have a more detailed explanation. Don't hesitate as well to include a dump of your database, so that if it's necessary, our departments can have a look into it. All right, and now we have one more of from Civic Software Services. Is there any comprehensive training for explaining functional workflows to my customers? I mean, any material lessons where I can learn about functional training for me, of course. So what we have are two main things. If you look for the Odoo documentation, so you can go into odoo.com/documentation/user, and of course you go to the version 10 because that is the latest version. You can have all the free documentation that we have here about the different apps. So into the sales app, for instance, it answers the main questions of the main workflows into Odoo: how to make a quotation, how to make a sales order, how to create a product, how to make an invoice, how to handle Visa cards, etc. All right, so that is the first way, is to go have a look at our quotations. Then what we also have is that in every Odoo base, if you go into your new base here and that you go into the settings here, we have an implementation guide. So for every app, you can go into the implementation guide, and you have a small, let's say, introduction to the main core functionalities and the core configurations that you have to do for that app. So that is one way to, of course, have a big look. And if you want to be even more in detail, we have an online training program that is called Odoo Tinkinit or something like this. That is the one here. All right. So you can simply go to here we go, Odoo Tinkific. I'm sorry, I'm reading it. .com. Right, and here basically you can purchase a full functional training, which includes the fact of having videos explain to you the different flows, exercises to test your knowledge, and the possibility, of course, to make some people pass the test to see if they have enough functional knowledge of Odoo. So those are the three main options that you have at your availability. Of course, you can also contact our sales departments to have some help with your initial questions, and if you want, you can have a dedicated consultant by purchasing a success pack. So have someone like me that helps you implement Odoo within your business. So don't hesitate to go have a look at their side as well. By the way, if you want a great opportunity to go ask your question or to have already some initial trainings, you can also join us to the Odoo experience that are happening in a little less than a month. Like I always like I said right before, you simply go onto our website and you have here a link to go to the Odoo experience. It might be a good opportunity for you to be able to come ask your question to different salespeople, to different consultants, to different technical types, etc. So I'll try to follow a bit with the flow of questions here. So CV software service, I hope that helps with your question. So it's Rui with a thick R, Rui. All right, just as in French. All right, I'll try to remember that, Rui. I'm very sorry. All right. So, Victor, is it possible to configure a type of VAT for each category? For each product category, yes. So, for VAT, wait. Oh, I'm confusing with the accounting entries. For VAT, you should add it on the product itself, right? So, basically, if we go into our products, first of all, right? I'll go into my live support database here, right? We go into the sales, we go into the sales orders, no, we go into the catalog, sorry, into the products. I will create a new product that is, let's say, a new alarm clock. Whoop. Alarm clock here. Can be sold, can be purchased, it's a stockable product, right? And in invoicing, you can put the customer tax, right? So that by default, it's normally 20%. You can change that into the configuration of your accounting if you wish. So if you say, my default tax is not 20%, it's let's say 15, then you can always go into configuration here, into configuration of the accounting, I'm sorry. So you go into accounting, configuration, settings, and you can specify your default sales tax here, right? By saying it's not 20, it's 8.5, 10, 5.5, etc. So that is one way. So you do need to put it on every product, because if I take my products here, I notice that if I go into the internal category, I can only add the income and the expense accounts per category, right? What you can do, however, is to add a default sales tax per customer segment. Typically, that is used with fiscal positions. Why? Because, for instance, someone that is purchasing from you from, I don't know, China will have, of course, a different VAT than someone that is purchasing from you in Belgium if you're a European country. So what you can always do is go into the accounting, into the configuration, and to the fiscal positions, right? And say, for instance, okay, I have intra-EU B2B, which means that if I have my tax here of 20%, it should be replaced by 0% if I use this fiscal position. In another way, if I go into my sales, right, I take my sale order, I create a new sale order, I take my customer Jill, and on my customer Jill, I will specify that she has a fiscal position, right, so in invoicing, that she has a fiscal position here of intra-EU B2B, right? That way, when I create a new sale order, right, so if I create a new sale and I select my customer Jill, right, on my other information, I have a fiscal position already set. And if I take my product that I created with you, the product alarm clock, right, okay, I plan to only sell one, but I have 0 in my stock, which is right, so, but I can force that, no problem. I see that my text automatically puts 0% livraison intracommunautaire. So it's not possible to put a VAT on a group of product. You should add the VAT on every product. However, it is possible to add different kinds of VAT using fiscal positions. Worst case scenario, Motoparts, Victor, sorry, is that if you have a lot of products where you have to add a VAT, simply do an export and import. You know, export the products, update them with the right VAT, and report them again. Victor, I hope it answered your question. Then, Nicola, any from here maybe know how to size images in the field, so you can always ask indeed the community. With some luck they're able to answer, but I'm sorry, I'm not able to help you with technical question, Nicola. Alright. Okay, so people say thank you, so you're very welcome, Sivit. So, okay, we have a question from Sagar Ornant. Hi, I'm using Odoo online version, okay, 10 for manufacturing. I wanted to define user access right based on work centers. Can this be done by Odoo settings? Once again, so it's always fun when we do those Odoo live, because I have the impression that that the questions are always centered. Even though people don't know each other, they always ask the similar kind of question. So Cigar, we had that question actually before with someone else asking if you could change the fact that a user can only see his own POs. So it is technically possible into Odoo to change the access rights. Like our friends Rui with the Hollande R explained to us right before, you can simply go you can go into the technical features of Odoo, into the record rules and change the access rights. But like I said, it is something that is not easy to do, especially if you do not have a technical background. So please be careful while doing this kind of configuration, because like one rule will be dependent on another, and another rule will be dependent on another. Within Odoo, there is different ways to reach certain places. So you can go from the sales app to the invoices, from the purchase app to the invoices, right? So you have to analyze all the different possibilities and adapt your rules according to that, without forgetting any exceptions. So what I would advise is that if you have a technical knowledge, you can always try it out, but be careful, it's not that easy. So always try it out on a test database, of course. If you do not have any technical knowledge, I would advise you to either go to your integrating partner, but as I see that you're online, Sagari, you can always call our sales department so that they evaluate for you what the developments of your feature would be. Or otherwise, you avoid any developments, of course, and you try to figure out a creative way in standards to make your people work without those security rules restrictions. I know that it depends on different companies, but I personally don't really like restrictions. Why? Because restrictions, of course, is the opposite of being flexible. Usually when I have customers that want to change their record rules, it causes some issues because they didn't think about one case. They didn't think, oh, but what happens if one customer like misses his order, or if one person validates his work center why he shouldn't have, And if you implemented security rules that enables people to help each other, or enables people to be flexible within the system, you might find yourself stuck. So be careful with that, and really, of course, do the necessary research and assessments of your project before trying to change the record rules. Alright, so we have a question from Luisen Lasala. Hello, for the project management app, is it possible to have tasks dependent on previous completed tasks? An example is task sequencing enabled in Odoo project management. Alright, is it possible to have tasks dependent on previously completed tasks? Alright, so what I guess that you mean is that you can only start a subtask at the moment that the previous one is ready. So that is something that at the moment we do not have as functionality. So to be able to relaunch, to launch a task only when the previous one is done, what we do have is the possibility to make subtasks. I don't know if that answers, I don't know if that will help you into your case, of course, but I can always show you what we have. And the purpose is that if we go into the project management here, we can create a project that is called project 1, Right, and in the configuration we can say that we want this project to have a sub project, and then it's possible into the configuration. Now be careful, because I enabled my debug mode at the moment. So just to show to you people that don't really know what the debug mode is, it's a possibility. Sometimes we decide to hide certain functionalities from normal users just to make the program simple. Like, I think that it's Gandhi that said it, is that simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. So the main purpose is that we try to make it as easy as possible for normal users to use them, which requires that we hide certain possibilities of configuration so that people don't get confused. So if you're the administrator of the base, or if you're someone that is integrating the base, you can always activate the developer mode, meaning that you will see more options within Odoo. Like for the moment, if we go into the project and we go into more and settings, we cannot see anything regarding a subtask. Why? Because we don't want people to start messing up our subtask and sub-project structure, right? So what we can do then is simply go into our settings here and click on activate the developer mode here. Right. We also have one of our Indian colleagues who developed this little monkey here that enables you to set the debug mode on active in one click. It's handy, and you can download it on the Chrome store, so that you just know it. It's for free, of course. And if you click on activate the developer mode here, like you see my monkey is now with open eyes, it adds this in the URL, and then you're able to see more things. So if you go into the project module, for instance, you can go now into the settings, right? And you now have a new field called subtask project. So you can say, okay, I want to have a subtask project that is called project 2. Right, and you save it. Now it is possible then to generate new projects into that project from the first one. So in other ways, if I go into my tasks here, I can create a new task and say this is my initial task. Okay. Now I don't think that is exactly what you were looking for, Louisan, but with some luck, if we are a bit creative, maybe it could solve your issue by changing a bit your habit and saying that, okay, we will put all the initial tasks into a main task, and only when one is finished we can create a new task into the sub one. So basically, if we have our tasks here and we add a new column, like with new, right, in progress, and done, right, we can say that this one is in new, right, and that now it's in progress, so people are working on it, they are booking timesheets, adding information, and then they say, okay, I am actually done with this task. So I can create a new subtask for my other colleague, so that he can start working on the task that is now done. And we will call it, like initial task here is done, and we have here the sub task, of course. We save it, and then in the project module now we have one task here that is in the done stage, and only one task that is created here in the new one, as the previous one was done. So I'm not 100% sure that answers your question, neither that it's the perfect solution for you, Louisan. But one thing that you have to understand, and that is very important into the implementation of any ERP or any system, is that if you want to stay in standards, which I highly recommend. So if you want to stay using Odoo standard, it is very important to keep an open mind to the fact of being able to change your way of working to fit the program. You're not supposed, of course, to change your way of working if it makes you less efficient, but you have to keep an open mind on what you on what your possibilities are, because sometimes fitting to the program will be more efficient than sticking to what you're used to do from several years, because you're used to it. So keep an open mind. Hopefully this is maybe a good first thought or a good idea to develop something with it. If you have any follow-up question, don't hesitate, Louise, and I'm always here to answer it. So we have CV Software Services that answer some question in my set, so thank you very much, guys. We can define user access by using groups in user configs. Indeed, but that is also as well a technical configuration, so be careful with it. So then we have Rui that says there are 2 modules for that. Go to the App Store and search for task dependencies. That is very well possible. Only thing is that, of course, that is only available for the community. And if you have an enterprise version in local. So I'm not sure, Louisa, if you were online or if you were in the enterprise versions. In the enterprise versions, there may be some community apps that you can use as well, which are not available, unfortunately, in our online solution. All right. So we have someone called Darshan Patel who is asking me, hi, I'm looking to use Restapi to access audio modules. I don't know what Restapi is, Darshan, so I'm sorry. If you could maybe give me a bit more information regarding that. And once again, if it's a technical development, our purpose here today is to answer functional questions only and not technical questions. So if you have some more information, don't hesitate. Otherwise, maybe ask our support department if you want to have a technical consultant looking into it. May J, when I make a delivery, is there a delivery date in Odoo? Normally, yes. So if you go into your sales order here, you click on the sales orders. What you can do is a couple of things actually. So I'm just, you can add another functionality by going into the into the apps. Right, I'm not 100% sure how it was called again, but if you delete the filter here, we can look for maybe dates, if I remember correctly. Oh, dates, product sale, dates on sale orders, right? And so you can have dates that you would like to promise to your client. So you install that. The time that it installs, I will take a sip of water. All right, and if we go now into our sales orders, so we have a quotation, we can create a quotation, and you can add your clients, add your products, right? We'll add our alarm clock again. Oh, okay, I had a small connection error. I hope that you guys are still here. I see that the Wi-Fi is still on, so that looks okay. Hope it's still up to date. All right, so we have the alarm clock, right? We save and close. And in the other information now you have the different dates that you can use in terms of shipping. And so if someone you have a request date, you can select the request date here and say, okay, I want to he requested to be delivered for the 21st of January. Then depending on the commitment date, it actually depends. Yeah, so it's the day where the products will be surely delivered, and it depends on the product lead time. So it depends on what you set on the lead time of those products. As I haven't configured it, it says that it's for today because I have 0 lead time. So that's an issue of configuration, right? Then we save it, and then we confirm the sale, right? And in the delivery, normally he took as the scheduled date the 21st of 09 because that is the one that we configured into our the delivery information. And that way you have the scheduled date of the delivery that normally should also be included into your delivery slip, if I'm not mistaken, and the date here as well. All right, so May J, I hope that answered your question. Don't hesitate to come back to me if anything is not clear. All right, then we have the question of Gelling AMD. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. So Gelling AMD, hi, I'm quite confused on how to end the fiscal year, okay? Could you show the steps on how to close the fiscal year and how to get the balance sheet and income statements on periods after? Closing the fiscal year from the V9 is actually very simple. First of all, we have some tips ready for you into the documentation. So if you go into odoo.com/documentation/10, you can go into accounting, and into accounting you will have a documentation about how to close a fiscal year. So here you have all the different checks. Now, what you have to be careful is that closing a fiscal year is easy because we ask some work of your accountants. We used to, before in the V8, to produce for you the accounting closing entries and generate automatically the opening entries for you. To be completely honest, we had some trouble with that because we noticed that from company to company, from country to country, and from user to user basically, or from accountants to accountants, they had different rules. So it was almost impossible to have a generation of closing entries or closing balances that were correct for all companies. So what did we do? We told ourselves it is not a good idea to continue to work with real fiscal periods. What we do now is that we work with what we call fiscal dates. Let me explain. If I'm in the my Odoo base here, right, I can go into my accounting configuration and click on configuration and settings here. Right, into the configuration and settings. Normally, I should have close. That's a bit strange. Apparently, it's changed from the last version, so it looks like we cannot select the closing balance at this stage anymore. Knowing our friends from the R&D department, oh, here we go. Okay, so basically we have the fiscal year here, and you simply have to choose for the last day of your fiscal year, right? Usually it's 31 of December, but you can also choose any other date. And how will it work is that in reports we will have in report it will automatically calculate what is your fiscal year. So if you go into any report, into any report, accounting report, right? Here we go. You go into accounting, we go into reporting, we take, let's say, the balance sheet, right? You can choose the filter here as of today, or last month, last quarter, or last fiscal year, and it will base itself on the fact that that you configured your last day of your fiscal year. So what is important are the dates of the entries and not the period anymore. Before you had to select a period, now you have to select a date. Right, so that is the first theory about fiscal year. So first of all, for closing a fiscal year, you have to be sure that you configured the last day of your configuration well. Then, actually, the fact of closing your year, we didn't do. You have to ask your accountants to enter miscellaneous operations, which are called the closing balance entries, meaning that you will report your reported profits back to your balance sheets. Those have to be generated by your accountants and have to be validated within Odoo, so that your revenues are back into your balance sheet. Basically, I don't know those entries by heart because I'm not an accountant, but every quality accountant should be able to provide for you your closing entries. Then, if you enter a new entry, then on the first day of your new fiscal year, what will happen is that Odoo will automatically say that the revenue and profit accounts are set to 0, because in theory you should have reported from the year before your balances from the profit and loss back into your balance sheet. Right, so Odoo will automatically detect that we are launching a new fiscal year, and so he will set the profit and loss accounts to 0 and take the balances that were set at your last day of your fiscal year for your balance sheet to start again. So basically, it is very simple to close a fiscal year because you don't have to close a fiscal year within Odoo. It will do it by himself. What you need to do, however, is to ask to your accountant to provide or to enter into your system the closing and the reopening accounting entries so that your balances are correct. The rest will be handled by itself as long as you specified the ends of your fiscal periods into the configuration of Odoo, like I showed you here. And then, of course, do not forget do not forget here to enter a log date, and this is a log date for non-advisors. So saying that at some point, people that are not that don't have the advisor access right into Odoo cannot change anything in your accountant before that date, to avoid having like salespeople that want to put a last invoice into your accountant. And that you already sent your VAT, for instance, you know, something like that. So that is the way that we can close the fiscal year. Gallingham AMD. I hope it helped you. If you have any more specific questions about your database, don't hesitate to go back to our support department. So we have a question from Pravir Kumar. How do we create product packs which will contain some child products? All right, what we can do is create what we call kits. So basically the main example for that is to be able to sell a pack like a company like IKEA would do, right? With a table that contains you know, like a wooden plate and 4 legs, for instance. That is actually quite easy. What you need is the sales app and the manufacturing app. What you can do then is simply go into the sales modules, right? I will create a new product for you. So we'll create it here, catalog products, right? We'll create a product. We'll say that we want to sell a beautiful table. We'll tell it it's called table. Yeah. Table. Even just to have some fun, I'll go have a look to download a little picture of a table. That way we can even have a good idea of what table we use. Right? Save image as. I hope we don't have any complaints about access, about ownerships, right? But I don't think so. Here we go. So we can go into. Here we go. We'll take our table here, and so we have a nice little table, right? On our table, but we won't deliver our table like such. We want to sell our table for a price of 150, but we want to have sub-products delivered to our client. So we want to have like the 4 legs here and the round wooden plate, right? We'll say that our table is worth 150 euros, right? Then we have to create our components. So we'll first create the legs, right? We'll say that this is as well a stackable product. Sales price, we don't really matter, but we cannot sell them. So that's important. We cannot. This cannot be sold because we will not sell only the legs. Normally, you will only sell the main table, right? So I just put the legs here, and I create a wooden round plate. Alright, and that as well cannot be sold, has to be stockable, and we save. Then we go back to our main product, right? The table here. We don't see our components. Why? Because I have a filter here that says can be sold. If I delete that, we see our 2 others, because the one cannot be sold. So I go into my table, and I will create a bill of material for our table, right? I click on bill of material, and I create. So that is the bill of the components to build my table. So I add the product, and I will add my legs, and I will add my my round wooden round plate here. Now, of course, my legs I need 4 because I need 4 legs so that my table stands. All right, and then to be able to ship those components to your customer, you should select this BOM type. Ship this product as components of a kit, right? We save it, and once we will go into our sales order, we will create a sale order. Once again, we want to create a sale order for Jill. Now she purchases a table, all right? We will have our VAT, our unit price. We save it. So what Jill sees, that she sees on her quotation here, when we print it. Here we go. She sees that she has ordered 1 table for 1 quantity, so she's not confused, right? But on our delivery, we see that we need to deliver 4 legs and 1 wooden plate. So, I hope I hope that that helped, Pravid, and I hope that that answered your question. Then we have once again Luisen. It says, I saw subtasks in a recent webinar, but cannot find it in my instance of Odoo 10. Thanks. I use debug often, so I can set it up now. All right. So once again, the subtasks are predefined into your V10, so I'm sure it's there. You simply need to go into the debug mode to see them, Luisen. All right. Okay. So hi. How do we manage vendor prices in Odoo 10 Enterprise? Can we do a multiple level discount for PO by using price lists? The price list into Odoo 10 changed a bit between V8 and V10, but basically the prices are quite simple within Odoo. What you need to go is to go into the Purchase app here, configuration settings, and say that you want to use vendor price lists. Right? So here you have the possibility to say that you want vendor price lists. So you select that. And you save them. The main purpose actually is that we expect the prices of your vendor prices to change quite often. So most of our clients want to import those vendor price lists. Right? So what you can do then is go into the vendors here and create vendor price lists. So say, okay, for my vendor, let's say we'll call it IKEA. All right. So for my vendor IKEA here, for my table, I know that my vendor product name so is that way, and for my product table, I have a price of, let's say, 150. Right, and I save. The main thing is that this is actually a list that you can simply click on here. And export or import back again. So we can export it and say, okay, I want to see my my vendor here. I want to see my product name, of course, and I want to see my price. Here we go, and I export that in Excel. Right, product the supplier info, and at some point I noticed that my prices changed from 150 to 158. Right, I save that, and I can simply then say, okay, I want to import it again, load a file into my downloads here, product supplier info, I open it, everything is already pre-configured, I validate, I import, and my price here is updated. What we cannot do, however, is like what you are asking, Togar, is a multi-level discount for PO by using price list. That's something that normally we cannot do because I can kind of understand why you would want that. Maybe that you have a sales condition with your vendor and your vendor says that every 10 or 20 pieces that you purchase from me, I will give you a 5% discount. So I can guess why you would like it. That's something maybe that we can discuss with our R&D departments for maybe future versions. But at this point, we do not have that functionality in Odoo V10. We do have it in the sales side. So we can do that for sales sites. For the moment, however, we cannot do it for the purchase side. So the answer is momentarily no. What you can do is do simple vendor price list into the standards. However, I see that you're in enterprise, so maybe go have a look at the community modules. In the community modules, you might have something that will be able to help you, but once again, Odoo itself cannot tell you or support those modules as we haven't reviewed them. So maybe that you have a solution in there, or you should maybe discuss it with your integrating partner if you have it, if you have one. So sorry about the disappointing answer. I think it's something that we could discuss internally here to maybe add for future versions. But at the moment, I have to disappoint you, Togar. I'm very sorry. So I have my mouse here who doesn't want me to show you my new questions. So that's kind of annoying. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we have some people chatting between themselves. Vids with Pavin. All right. All right. So then we have a question from Peter Hutt. So we have lots. Another question: is it possible to assign a lot of serial number later after creating a product and assigning an on-hand quantity? Well, you have to assign it at some point, and especially before it leaves your warehouse. So basically, what you're supposed to do when handling lots is first of all configure it, of course, so that's very important. If we go into inventory, we go into configuration and into settings. We can simply go into the configuration and see how to add the lot and serial number. So we have the traceability here, and we can say, okay, we want the lots and serial number to be active, right? Then individual consignment, that's all. So we validate that. So I'm just telling people that, of course, so that everybody can follow Peter. So I guess that you already found that, but that way we can put everybody on the same page, basically. Then we'll go into our sales and into our catalog. So to enter a product, we can also enter a product by any other means, of course, but it's just simply to show you. Then on the product name, what we can do is simply enter a new product. How we will call it? We'll call it mobile phone, maybe. Right? Because a mobile phone needs to have a serial number on it. All right. And in the inventory here, we can say that we want to track the mobile phone by unique serial number, and we save. All right. So at some point, then we have our quotation. We create our quotation. Oh, I maybe forgot to set the phone to a stockable product. That might be possible. Even though I think that even if I'm not putting it, you know what? Let's do it like this, because I don't have any stock anyhow. So I think that even if I don't count any stock and leave it as consumable, it should work as well, because I have to put a serial number on it, of course. We have Jill, again, purchasing from us. She's a very loyal customer. And we add the mobile phone, right? We will sell her for an Apple-like price, like 8,000 euros. Then we save it. Right, and we confirm our sale. Now, for that price, you want to be able to track your phone with the serial number. So, at this moment, you have a delivery that is already available, because we checked your stock, so it's booked. Now, you can wait until any moment to put it as done, but what you cannot do is first send it and then putting the serial number, because if I try to validate it here, I will say okay, but it will tell me normally that I need to put a serial number in it. I think it's still loading. That's a bit strange that I do not have. Oh, and here we go. Some products require a serial number, so you need to specify those first. So I'm not able to clear my stock booking, which is logical, because otherwise my product would go out without a serial number, which is very dangerous, of course, because then you won't be able to track it. So at that point, you're forced to do simply here and to add a serial number, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then you save it to create a lot for this picking type. I don't want to create a lot, so. Oh, okay, so apparently I'm not able, it's a question of configuration, I'm not able to create a serial number because I configured it like this. It's only serial number who exists. How do I configure that? You simply go into the inventory here, and on the delivery orders here, you have a way to configure your picking types. So you do any settings, and here you see I did not put the right to create new serial numbers, which I now allow myself to do. All right. Then we go back into the sales, into my sale order. All right. I get back into here, into my delivery, and now I will be able to add a new serial number that does not exist yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. I create 1, 2, 3, 4. No problems anymore. Perfect. 1 on 1. I save it, and once I'm saved, I can validate it. Then of course you have an up-down traceability, which is very useful. If at some point your person comes back and says, hey, I would need to know what happens to my phone because it's not working anymore, because I have something that is defect, because I'm not happy with it, well, you can always go back either on the SO and find the traceability back, or you can even directly go on the lot number. So you can go into the inventory, say, okay, I want to see my lot and serial numbers. I look for it and I find it here. And then you have the up-down traceability. You click on it and you have a report that says, okay, so this is my mobile phone here for this unit. So I see that it came out with this warehouse stock coming from, of course, this SO. So in terms of up-down traceability, we are it's quite handful, basically. All right. And if you click on locate here, you will be able to see where your mobile phone is. So it's not in your stock anymore, it's at your partner location customer, of course. So Peter, I hope that answered your question. So it's not really possible to add it after creating a product and assigning an on-hand. Oh, but yeah, actually, yeah. So I'm not sure I understood your question 100%, but you're asking me if it's possible to, after creating a product and assigning an on-hand quantity. Actually, you have to do it after. So basically, I guess that what you mean, that was maybe more your question, is that you wanted me to go into my product, to go into my mobile phone and update my quantity on hand. So it's not a consumable, it's a stockable, right? I update my quantity on hand, and then, and then you will tell me, okay, I want to create and say that then I have 10 here, and I would like to save that without specifying a lot number. Well, in here it seems to have worked. So here I have 9 on hand, which do not all have a serial number. So you can then add a serial number after. So normally, yes, it should be possible, as what I'm seeing here, is that you update your quantity on hand, and after that you create lots or serial numbers into the inventory module, and you say, okay, for my product here, I want to create lots and serial numbers, and I want to add my different kinds of products, so my mobile phone. Oh, I cannot see it here. My mobile phone here, and add my different serial numbers, right? I guess that's a way of doing it. Hope that answers your question, Peter. How do I configure a barcode scanner in Odoo V8 in a Windows platform? I'm sorry, but V8 I won't be able to answer. That's quite of a long version ago. By the way, if you're still in V8, it might be time to consider to migrate, because it's becoming to start to be an old version, as of we are arriving in the V11, it will soon not be supported anymore. Configuring a barcode scanner in a Windows platform, even in the V8, should not be that complicated. Like we said before, normally any barcode scanner that has an USB is sufficient. So you simply plug in your USB scanner, and the USB scanner is supposed to read and to only write into your Windows. So even in V8, you should be able to simply add a barcode into your laptop with the USB, and no configuration is needed. All right. All right. So this is what I said for Luzon. Is as she's online, she doesn't have access to the community module. I guess I cannot install any of those two apps into my online version, right? That is right, Luzon, we do not support that. I'm sorry. And indeed, I confirm you cannot install community modules into the online version. The reason is actually quite simple, is because as you're hosted by by our shared services, right, you're not alone on your server with your database. So I guess that we have a lot of community modules that are from a good to very good quantity. The problem is of course that we cannot allow the customers to update any modules into their versions, because otherwise imagine that we have one community person who developed a module that works very well but that requires a lot of calculation or a lot of of code getting through. It might then influences the performances of any other base on that shared platform, on that shared server. So that is the reason why we cannot allow community modules to be installed on our servers. I'll try to get a bit faster here because I see that I have a question from 10:52 and that's already 20 minutes ago. So I try not to be less than half an hour. So I'm sorry, I hope that you're still here. Ankur Saxena. How to set access rule and restrict views on menu items for any users. Example, simple employees should need to see only those who were salesperson of that employee. If you want to restrict menu items, that is actually quite easy to do regarding the groups into the menu items. Now, what you can see within those menu items is based on security rules. So once again, you can change the security rules with the technical settings, but it's something that I do not recommend if you do not have a technical background. It's not that easy to do. So for instance, for your example, any single employee should need to see only those sales orders where salesperson is exactly that employee. Well, that normally is possible within the standard rules. So if we take my run bot here, right? I will take a run bot here, right? If I go into my settings, right, on an application, I can have my demo user here and say that in sales he can only see his own documents, right? If I take then that demo user, so this is my demo user of that same base, if I go into my sale, into my leads, I will only see the leads that are either one not attributed or attributed to me. So maybe in the pipeline it's clearer that if I go into my pipeline, I can only see that one because I am the salesperson of demo users. Normally in quotations it should be the same thing. My salesperson is only demo user, whereas if I go into my my mainframe here and I'm the administrator, I can see everything. I go into sale and into sale orders, I see that there are way more sale orders than just the one of demo user. Right, so that is possible in standard without any customization, simply by adding the see own documents only into that configuration. Now, if you want to change the menu items, that is actually quite simple. That's something that I can show you. Is that you can go. I will just take my run bot again, and for instance, I don't want my salesperson to see. What can we take as a good example? I'll just take my salesperson here. I don't want my salesperson to see this invoicing menu, right? I don't like it. I don't want him to see it. So what you can do then is simply go into or my catalog. Maybe the catalog is even simpler. So what I can do then is simply go into my settings here. So I have to go into my developer mode. So activate the developer mode. I'll just have a sip of water. Here we go. So we can go into the developer mode here, and into the developer mode, go into settings, go into my technical settings, and go look for the menu items menu here. Right. Into the menu items menu, I can look for catalog, which was the one that I wanted to change. So we have sales catalog here, which is the one that can be seen by my demo user. Right. And I have here access rights, so I can add an access rights of a group and say I want only one group to be able to see that right. And so I want a group sale and say, okay, I want only my sales manager to be able to see that right. So I select it, so saying that only my sales managers will be able to see that product now. And if I go back into my my demo user, if I refresh his page, he's not a sales manager, he's under it. If I refresh, we'll see that the catalog here has disappeared. So to answer your question, Anchor, is that to see only your own documents into the sales app is already standard. If you want more precise, you can change the record rules, but I would not advise it if you are not a technical developer, because it's quite hard to do. It's a complex matter, but we as Odoo, if you're on the online version, can help you with that with the help of customization. If you need that, you can always ask our sales departments to give you more information. If you want to change only the menu items, that is quite easy to do. Like I told you, you can go into the technical settings, go into the menu items and add the different groups. What I do not recommend, however, is that you start to creating new groups, because starting to creating new groups could influence all the rest of your database and put you in some problems. So be careful with access right, because access right is not something to play with like a toy. It's something that is complex and that has been developed for a kind of a long time. So you should be careful to be able. So you should be careful to check with your technical team for those configuration, and be of course very careful while modifying them, because sometimes it can put you in some problems. So be careful, but for the examples that you gave me, you can find the solution quite easily. I hope it helped, Anko. All right. Can you prevent someone from entering the debug mode? Well, simply not tell them, right? So if you don't tell a person that the debug mode exists, you will not be able to enter it. As well, if, like, for instance, I don't know what the debug mode is and I don't have this, I can look for it, but if I don't have the settings, I'm not able to access it. So that's a way to prevent people to access the debug mode, big machine. Okay, it's 10:45, 54 for the questions. We are at 11:20, so I'm trying to get a bit faster. We have Rui who is answering in my place. Thanks a lot. This makes more. Still, it don't set any. All right, so you're right as well, Rui. All right, so there is an entire discussion between Rui and Franco. Are you not looking for a job, Rui? You never know, because you're doing mine for the moment by answering all of the people. By the way, we are recruiting. You never know. I'm just putting that out there. If you might be interested into a job into Odoo, you can always have a quick look at our jobs offer at odoo.com/jobs. You never know. So Rui, you seem quite passionate about Odoo, so you never know. If you want, you can always have a look at our job offers. Togar, thank you for answer for the vendor price list. You're very welcome. I have another one, all right, about MRP. Ooh. What is the best way for us to handle the waste of the production? So basically, you're producing, I guess. So if I can take a simple case, I guess that you can say, okay, I produce something into my manufacturing orders, and actually in the end I produce less, or I produce some waste, right? For me, waste should not be something that you stock. Am I mistaken? I'm not sure. So it's not something that should be counted for, but even if you plan to produce 50 units into a manufacturing order, so let's say that I create a manufacturing order here for a product, and I want to produce, let's say, 10, right? I save. Oh, I have to create a bit. Okay, I'll try to have someone that has already, okay, unbuilt material on it. Save. I have my materials here. I check for my availability. They are all in stock. Perfect. I want to produce them. Well, we have produced 0 at the moment, so I want to produce them. I can say, okay, if I have waste, I can say at the end I only produce 9, right? So I produced 9 out of 10, so that's okay. But and you can scrap the rest normally. So we scrap one of the product, and we go to put them into the scrapped location. So what happens as well to put waste? So normally, if you have waste, you're supposed to transfer them to a scrap location because something is broken or you need to, you know, produce something else. Now what I'm seeing here, okay, so I can post the inventory here even though it's not done yet. So that's a bit strange in my opinion. So you cannot, so you're supposed to have one yet to produce. So I should check if you can produce less than what you intended for. In my memories you could, but I cannot find it immediately back again. So to answer your question, normally you can produce less than what you intentionally wanted to produce, or you can also transfer a part of your production into the scrap location, basically. Oh, okay, so I just saw it right after, so please note that it isn't waste of a production, not a scraps. Okay. Okay. Okay, so then we have Rue Franco, no, so Ankle says, can you show me how the workflow for binding on tender? All right. Alright, so we have our, so I'm a bit lost into all of the questions here. So we have, can you show me the workflow for binding on tender? How will the vendor reply to the bid? Currently, when I'm logging from vendor ID, I'm able to see the tender and confirm button. Okay, so I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Ankar, the workflow for binding on tender. How will the vendor reply to the bid? So basically, when you have a tender, so if I take my my base here, you have a purchase app. So you create, you can create, configure it, and say that you want to be able to have purchase agreements and tenders. Here we go. Right, and so now on the purchase you can click on purchase agreements and create a new purchase tender. Basically what you can do then is basically create all draft purchase orders depending on your product. So you create one that says that you want to buy a car with legs with an alarm clock, right? And the legs you want 5. All right, so we have an agreement deadline, so say that you wanted it before the end of the month, right? An order date you can have not fill it in for the moment, and you can either already put in a vendor or not, you know, especially if you want to send it to different vendors. Then we save it, and basically once you confirm it, you can start to set new quotations and say, okay, for this quotation I would like to send it to my vendor IKEA. You send, and you send the request for quotation. Then you want a new quotation and you want to send it to another vendor. Let's say McDonald's. I'm just making stuff up here. It's a company, or you know what? Let's say Apple. Right. Oh, here we go, and we save. right? So basically now you have two POs linked to one tender, so that you can send those out to your tenders here, for instance IKEA, and then get their answer back, right? Now, what I'm not 100% sure to understand about your question is how will the vendor reply to the bid? Okay, so let's now imagine that I am the vendor, right? I'm IKEA here, okay? And I want to, and you will send me your email. So I'll just add my email address into my vendor here, right? And in my purchase tender, I will say, okay, I want to send my request for quotation for a month. So you have an already predefined request for quotation that you can change if you want to. All right. So I will send that to myself. So to our IKEA, and of course at some point here we have to wait for the answer. Now what I will do is that I will go into my mails. I hope I have nothing sensitive in it. Here we go, and I will have received here my my request for quotation. So what I can do is say, okay, I want to reply and say, hey, here are the prices, right? And I add information and I send, right? Then what happens is that on my PO I will have a new answer normally. Now we have to wait a bit, so 30 seconds normally, because my email address only sends out my mail 30 seconds after that I confirmed it. So it's not Odoo that is slow, it's just my configuration of my email address that takes some time to send out the email. So what we can do is go into our diskette and see if we received any answer. For the moment, not yet. I'll just check if it is sent correctly. Send mail. Yep, it's gone, so it shouldn't take that long. Again, let's see on our purchase orders. So I just received my answer here, right, with my prices. And the idea then is that I have my prices, okay, so I can say, okay, my price for this one is actually 12. For this one is actually 45, etc., etc. And then for your request for quotation here, you can start to see which one is the most attractive purchase order. For the moment, is the one that is for free, of course. But let's say that Apple never answered to me, then I check and I say, okay, well, this one is the most interesting purchase order. So I confirm that order, and that order has been confirmed to me, all right? Whereas if I go back to my purchase agreements here, you know, I see that my status is that I have my two quotations, and because I validated that one, I can say, okay, this one now is actually validated. All right, it's selection and it's done now. Okay, and so basically I have to cancel this one because I haven't received any answer, so I cancel this one by saying, okay, this one actually I don't want it, and this one I want it. So I want this one, and I say that this is done, basically. So this is how you work with the request for quotation. And that you bind between your different vendors and that you communicate with them. Never forget that, well, communicating with other people, Odoo is not a classical mailbox. It really is all about being able to send the correct information to the correct person linked to a business document. So you create a purchase for tender. You create all the request for quotations behind it, and every request for quotation is sent to your different vendors, right? You get the answer per request for quotation and you add the information in it. Some are too expensive, you cancel them. Some are good, you say, I will keep them because I want that price, and you confirm it. You have an exact list of all the people with the untaxed amount of all the different offers. And then when you make your choice, you simply close your call for tender. The call for tender is really a way to summarize every aspect that you ask for one tender to all customers. All right, so Ankur, I hope that answered your question. So we have Rui, who is that asks to please ask Odoo. All right. I hope that I answered it. This is Odoo support session, right? So yes, that is right, Anchor. So for people just tuning in, indeed, so we are doing on the Odoo live support every Friday, where we try to answer your questions directly from the chat. Of course, we try to provide you with the best solution possible, and we try to answer all of your functional questions. I'm not able to answer any technical questions, however, because I'm not a technical consultant, but I do my entire best to try to answer you guys with all of your functional questions. Just in terms of timing, quick reminder: at around 12:15 we'll take a short break of 5 to 10 minutes, to take a small break. I'll then put a waiting sign into the live stream, and I will be back around 25:30 to continue until 1 p.m. so for last 1.5 hour. Unfortunately, this afternoon we won't have any live sessions for this afternoon, but our colleagues from San Francisco in California will retake the live session as of 6 p.m. Belgium time, which is, I think, something like 10 o'clock in US time, if I'm not mistaken. Please don't judge me on that. So we still have 45 minutes left before the first break, so I'll have a quick look at what are the other questions. So we have Ahmed Marfouk. Hi, how to hide form view based on access right? That is technical, Ahmed. So like I just explained, unfortunately, I only provide with functional questions. If you have technical questions, you should ask our support department immediately by going into odoo.com/help. Because I cannot help you immediately with technical questions. We have also some live support with technical consultants. I don't have the agenda right here with me, so I have to check, but please keep put if you maybe want to follow a technical session with one of my colleagues. Ankur, so I have once again my mouse who doesn't react. Maybe it needs to reconnect. Here we go. Okay. So I'm not able to find any solution for this in Odoo documentation. I have waited the entire week to ask this question in this session, so please help me. So Ankur, I hope I did. Just send me a box of mashuf. Rui, we can ask our accounting team department if that is possible. However, I have a small doubt on it. By the way, it's Friday for everybody, so a little mashuf would be amazing right now. You're completely right. And you would fit in our company culture, by the way. We all love a good beer. Please could you comment about, so we have a question from Diadas Gems. Please could you comment about CEO positioning of blog app? It is words of me better using WordPress. Be honest, thank you. We have, in terms of CEO positioning, of course, well, you have to configure your website into Odoo to have a good CEO position. We have an app that helps in the website here. So if we take the website app, I have some trouble finding it back here, websites, right? We have our dashboard here, and you have a CEO optimization app that I have to find again. Forum reporting, configuration, settings maybe. It used to be in here, but apparently they changed the app from Play, so I have to find it back again. Here we go. No, that is not exactly what I wanted. To connect, but I'm really sure that we have an app to help you to configure your CEO optimization. I just cannot find where they put that back. I'll just see maybe if that's an app that we haven't installed by default. Alright, so I can find it immediately back, maybe in the website admin. right. Go online. Visits. Visits. So I'm not immediately able to answer your question because I cannot find back the the app in question. But there is a way to improve your SEO positioning by renaming, you know, like your banners, by renaming your search terms, etc. Now, of course, in terms of SEO optimization, it all depends on how you develop your website. If you develop your website with headers that has a lot of your company name in it, it will be found easier than any other website. So it's all about the design and respecting Google search rules, basically. But I'm not sure I understand about the SEO positioning of the blog app positioning. It's basically like any other software. So in the beginning of your website, if you don't do any SEO optimization, well, Google will not find it easily because, well, you don't have a lot of traffic at the beginning. But of course, you have to do some optimization so that people can find it, and then as long as you get more traffic, you will get a better positioning, basically. But we don't have a specialized SEO positioning of blog apps. I'm not sure I answered that question very well because I'm not 100% sure about what I'm saying. So if you want some more information, the best thing is maybe to ask directly to our support department by going to odoo.com/help. I hope it helped, Jealous. I'm sorry I couldn't find the app again to improve the website. I'm sure it's somewhere here, but please ask our support department. They will get back to you as soon as possible. Just for your information, if you want to go to the support team, you can go to odoo.com/help. And basically, by this, you simply enter your name and your email address. You explain a bit what your status is into the edition of Odoo, and it will redirect you to the correct services. So that is the best way to get more information if I cannot help you immediately, because it's not always that easy to answer questions in live, of course. I have Sandra that says, do not speak too quickly, please. I'm very sorry. That's one of my many flaws, is that I have some trouble speaking slowly. So I'll try my best for the next half hour. Sorry, Sandra. All right. All right. So Nias, I'm from Nias from India. I would like to know the working or use of tours and planners menu in the settings. A technical user interface. So I'm not really sure what you mean by that. I hope that you're still here as well. You said that at 31, so we are 5 minutes late, so that's okay. Let's have a look. So you wanted to go technical user interface and tours. Alright, the tours normally are about or developments made to show you in the beginning how the system works. I enabled it here, but basically what it does is that if you go into the debug mode, you can start the tour. Alright, you set on OK. So start tour, and you can say, okay, here I want to see what the web page is all about, and basically it's those little it's supposed to be those little how do you call it, the little blocks that will show you when you create a new database where the different functionalities are. The problem now is that because I already used my base a lot, he will not show me again what I already know, right? Because he's a smart guy. So to give you another example, I think that the easiest way, maybe they have it on the run bot still. I'll have a look. Here we go. Basically, those are the tours, right? Or the little help that you can have when starting on Odoo. So basically here on project, it tells me, want a better way to manage a project? It starts here. I click on it, on the project, and it will explain to me, okay, here I can create a first project. Super. Here I can put a project name, test, right? etc. So those are the tools basically. He will explain to me the different stuff that I can do within my base that I haven't tried yet. So that is what the tool planners are for. All right. I hope that answered your question, Nias. All right, we have a question from Mikkel from 11:32, so we are only 8 minutes out, which is kind of cool. I hope that you're still there, Mikkel, so let's have a look. Purchase workflow and matching stock quantity with invoicing quantities. Okay, example, create 10 POs of 10 units, receive 10 units, return 5 products, then create a vendor bill. And vendor bill says 10, not 5. Okay. What you can do actually is base your... It's possible that that is one of the flows that we want to improve in the V11. Let me just have a try. So basically, what we will do is try a purchase order. I'll just take my base actually. So we will try a purchase order, and we'll create a product here. So we'll configure our product here for the mobile phone, right? What we will do is say that first of all, inventory, I don't want to track it by lots anymore, right? But it's a stockable product, and I want to control my purchase bill on the ordered quantities, right? So that is the configuration of our product. We save. I'll just redo it because it's not retroactive, so it will not recalculate when you change a parameter, which is for performance issues, of course. And I will use my mobile phone. And I will say, I will take the example of Mikkel, and I will say, okay, I have 10 units. I save, I confirm the order, and by confirming the order, I receive the shipment. So now, on my purchase order from Apple here, I have my mobile phone of 10. What I forgot, by the way, is to put a price in, which is a bit weird, of course. Even though we'll try it. So we have a shipment here, and what you are telling me is that what we could do is have a receipt of the 10 units, of course, and then in the PO we see that we received 10 quantities. But if we take the shipment and we return a part, what will happen? So we will return 5. Which is important, I think, is to say that you want to be refunded, so that you want those to be changed into your database. So if you click to refund, I have the impression that if you click on return and you validate the 5 that you apply back to your customer, if we go back to our PO, we have a received quantity that stays to 10. That's strange. That I have to agree is strange. So we still have 10 received, and if I create my vendor bill, it will create it for 10. Huh. Alright, I can completely understand why you may have some mismatch, and I have a memory that this is something that we wanted to adapt in the V10. So I'll just do a live test with you guys on the new V11, right? So we'll just... Now, of course, don't judge what you see at this point because we are not ready with it exactly. But I'll try to see what we already have now. So maybe if I go into the master here, we can have a look with the exact same. You guys already have a peep view on the new V11, so that's quite amazing. So let's try your flow again from here, right? We'll do a request for quotation. We'll do exactly the same flow, right? This time with ice cream. Okay, we save it, and we confirm. Oh no. Okay, I will duplicate it. I'm sorry because I want to have more than only one ice cream, of course. I want to have 10 as quantity. Save, and I confirm the order. Right? I have a shipment. I validate my shipment. Apply, and the 10 quantities are received. Then on my purchase order, 40, here, I received 10 quantities. Now the idea is that if I go into the shipments, we would like to return a part, update SOPO, so that already looks fine. We click on it and we change it into 5. We return, and we validate the return, apply. Right. Now on the PO, we see that the received quantity has been updated to 5. So basically, to answer your questions, Mikhail, so on the V10, that was a known missing feature, so that was a known problem, and so we've improved it in the V11. So you have to be a bit more patient to wait for the release of the V11 that will be in the Odoo experience in only 3 weeks. If you want to know more about what will be released into the V11, be sure to come to the Odoo experience. I would be very, very fun to meet some of you guys. If you come and you recognize me from the live sessions, please tell me, hey, I was on one of your live sessions. It would be fun to meet you. So you can see all of the new features, but to answer your question, we improved that into the newest version. So I'm sorry about the V10, I cannot help you with to solve that issue. However, if you're a bit patient and you wait for the V11, you will have your solution, Mikhail. So I hope it helps out. So then we have Togar, who says, how do we manage revaluation gain and loss in Odoo? Could you be a bit more precise? Because what do you mean with revaluation? Do you mean stock revaluation? Do you mean accounting revaluation? If you could be a bit more precise, Togar, I might be able to help you better. Peter, I have created a stock mobile phone with serial number tracking and then updated the quantity on hand as 10. When I go to product serial later, I cannot assign a serial number to the 10 quantities. Indeed, that is something that is maybe missing at this point. Basically, I'll try it maybe in the newest version, because we remastered an entire inventory app. So what I would be interested to do is we'll create a new product together. Inventory products. We create a product. Let's see. And I'll say that this is a stockable product. Okay, but also that the in the inventory, I wanted to be able to track it. Now, apparently I haven't configured that right, so I have to put the tracking number. So I'm still finding my way a little bit into the application myself. Here we go. All right, here we go. Then we have the, so back again, we can go into our products. In our products, we'll look for my test. Here we go. If we have the, so now on invoicing, normally I'm able to, no, on inventory I'm able to say that I want by unique serial number to be tracked. All right, I save. Here we go, and then I update my quantity on hand. When I update my quantity on hand, indeed you're right, so I update 10. How can I then assign serial numbers on those? That is actually a good question. So I have 10 on hands who has no serial number, basically. How can I then add my serial number here? Picking moves. lots and serial number. If I create a new lot, so if I create a new lot, I can say, okay, this is a serial number for my product test CUV, right? Okay, but I cannot select the quantity. All right, you got me there, Peter. You're right. I cannot see it immediately how you're supposed to do it. I think that there is something that can be done that I'm missing at this point. Maybe the best thing would be then to ask our support as well, because I'm not 100% sure. It's something that I will definitely go ask to my colleagues afterward, because now at the moment I'm blocked, so I'm not 100% sure how you can manage that. Basically, so maybe ask your question to the support departments. They will get back at you, because that way they can check it a bit more in depth than myself. At this point, I can't find the solution, but I think it exists. I think I'm missing something out, or I'm a bit tired after 2 hours of live support. So I'm very sorry I can't help you immediately. So ask to our support department, and I will get myself informed regarding that question then right after, because right now I'm a bit blocked in my own research. So sorry that I'm not able to help you immediately. I'll have a deeper look in it. Once we are off of the live session. I can even maybe during the break of 12:15 go have a quick check with my colleague to see if I'm not missing something out, and get back to you then after the break. Otherwise, if I can't do that, so if I can't scan back to you, please make sure to ask your question directly to our support department so that they can check it for me, Peter. So hope it helps anyway, and thanks for your understanding. Then we have Nias Rafi. As Odoo does not provide support for the community, then why such an option to select added in the help page? Basically to give an explanation, because indeed we do not provide support for the community as support is indeed a paid service within a contract. So basically, if you select that you're from the community, it gives you some more example, it gives you some more explanation about why we cannot provide you with any support, because we do not like, of course, our community to feel left out when they send us a support ticket, and that we do not, it's to avoid them losing our time, their time, basically. So it's to avoid them to send a ticket with the hope to get an answer, and that we then have to disappoint them right after. Now, what is great with the community is that you have a great forum. So if we go into the Odoo forum, right, you can have a look for Odoo help here, right? And basically here we have tons of questions that have already been asked. Look, we have 40,744 questions, and you can either ask your question or search if anyone already answered it before. We have a huge community of great people that are able to help us. So if our support cannot immediately help you because you're from the community, please make sure to go to the community forum to ask your other colleagues, if I may call them that way, so your other Odoo community members. So can you give me an example of live Odoo blog app from any company in order me to get a deep look at it? I don't know one by heart, to be completely honest. I have a pool of clients active, which have some blogs, but I don't have one that I can give you immediately like that. Yeah, that's not out of the top of my head. So sorry about it. So Mikael, so indeed, like you said, yes, this is strange. So once again, I'll try to get back to you after the break when I ask one of our colleagues. Anyway, ask our support department; they will most certainly be able to help you out. Then we have a question from Luis Alberto Gunzen Garcia. I guess that's from Spain somewhere. or from Latin America maybe. And Mikael, yes, so I just see your question right on it. It will be released during the Odoo experience. So the Odoo experience is, I always forget the dates, but so I always forget the date, but so it's the 4th and to 6th of October. And normally, if everything goes well, you will be able to download the V11 as of the start of the Odoo experience. All right. Then, so Luis Alberto, I'm testing multi-company. Why are all the POs numbering links between the parent and child, even when they have their own accounting? All right, that is something that is indeed pre-configured that way, but you can change that. So basically, if you go into the debug mode first, so you go into the settings here. You know what? I'll maybe show you on the run bot. That way, we have already a multi-company enabled. All right, I will go into my settings, into my general settings, and I will just say that I have a multi-company. All right, here we go, and I apply. For those who don't know, a multi-company is a function where you can have different companies within one same Odoo database. Basically, if you have a group, so you have a company working in Spain, a company working in Belgium, a company working in China, one company working in Russia. You can have all of those companies together into one base, but separated between the different kinds of companies. All right. I always advise people to only do that if you have a similar business, so meaning that you're doing the same job altogether, but a different accounting, which is the case, I guess, for Luis here. So Luis, what you can do is indeed get your own numbering for your POs or for any sequence within Odoo. For that, you first need to go into the debug mode. So once I explained is that it's a mode where you can have more configuration function than a normal user. Right, so you go into the settings here first, and then you click on activate the developer mode. All right, by activating the developer mode now in the settings, you have a new settings that is called technical here. All right, and you can search for sequences. Right, even easier actually is if you're here, you can simply then check for sequences, and you have here the sequences as a first option. You click on that, and here you will find all of the sequences of your purchase orders, of your Odoo base, basically. So all the sequences like the invoice numbers, the POs, the SOs, etc. You can change them if you want, like for instance, to not say that the sequence will not be invoice / 2017/111. You want it to be my personal invoice / 2017, etc. Right? For your case, Luis, you can go into the purchase. Right? So you can look for PO, which is this one. So those are the posts, not really what I wanted to find. We can check for purchase. So we have here the purchase order. Like you see, you have only one for all companies. What you can do is say, I want one for every different company. So you duplicate that one. So it's the same one. And you select the company for this one is applicable. Like this is my company Chicago, right? And I want my prefix to be company Chicago, so PO Chic. Right, with size number of 5, and the rest I stay exactly the same. I save it, and on my other sequence of the PO, I want it to be for my other company, so for your company here. Then what happens is that if I give myself the right to go into my company Chicago, so I go into my settings here, and I manage my access rights, and I add into my administrator the right to go into my company Chicago, I save it, right? I can simply then go into that company. Here we go. Into your company and your company Chicago here, right? And in here now, if I produce a new PO, have my purchase orders, I create a purchase order as a tag, add a product, anything, here we go. I save, look, my new sequences is set on that company. I check again, I go into your company, so my previous one, right? I get on create, I select as a tag, I take this one, I save, I have the other sequence. All right, so basically go into the settings and you can create your sequence for every company that you have, Luis. I hope it answers your questions. So Michaela already answered your question. Guys, just a quick heads up. We have 50 minutes left before the first break. I will try to do as fast as possible to take the break and then to come back to you guys. So please be a bit patient and come back to me or stay with me until the end of the session because we are here together until 1 p.m. After the break. I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. All right. So then we have Rui who tries to answer for Luis. You can have indeed the different journal for companies if you want. You can, but you can do it like this as well. Normally, if you create a new journal for your company, you can set on the journal as well another the sequence. But the question, Rui, from Luis. Was more about the POs, and the POs don't have a journal actually, only the invoices have. But indeed on the invoices you're right. If we go into the accounting, once again in the debug mode, you go into the configuration and into the journals. You can go into any journal and enter the entry sequence here basically, but you have to be in the debug mode. Don't forget, if you're not in the debug mode, you won't see that option. So if I show you, I close my debug mode. You see, I cannot see the option again. So don't forget to be in the debug mode. All right. So, Togar, so what you meant is accounting reevaluation, but can you be a bit more precise? Because I'm not an accountant exactly. So what do you mean? What do you want to do basically? Do you want to reevaluate your stock values? If that is the idea is that you can actually simply do an inventory valuation and put the real value of your stock into each product. That is a way of doing the accounting revaluation. Now, if you want to do real price inventory valuation, then you should do a quite complex configuration to be able to have a real-time valuation. If you want to do that, to have a real-time valuation of your stock, I would highly recommend you to follow the following doc. So if we take the documentation of Odoo here, and you go into the inventory, normally, or the purchase maybe, so I'll check inventory first. If you check on real time, so it's not in here. So I guess that then you have to go into the purchase app maybe. Not either. Maybe then it is in the accounting app. Discuss sales accounting. Okay, I have some trouble to finding the doc again. And here we go. How to do an inventory valuation with Anglo-Saxon, and you have an entire docs, dynamic doc that explains to you how you can configure the best way the accounting reevaluation. So that's the idea. All right. So we have Luis that tells me, whoa, very interesting, you nailed it. Thanks, man. That's very cool to hear, so hope it helps, and please make sure to enjoy. I will wait for after your break to help me with the lot serial number. Thanks. Of course, Peter, I was not expecting anything less from you. Okay, we caught up with all the questions, so that's great. So it's 12:03 now. We have still 10 minutes before the break. So if you have any other questions, guys, now is the moment, because I'm completely up to date. So we have 10 more minutes before the break. Otherwise, I can just start talking about another subject if you prefer. So yeah, so basically, so we answered a lot of your questions today already. We are still waiting indeed for myself to get a bit more informed about the lot numbers for Peter. So Peter, I'm not forgetting you. I'll try to do that as fast as I can. In any other case, you have always, of course, our support departments that can help you in more details. All right, so what can I show you in the meantime? We have a couple of minutes. One question that I'm often getting from my clients is how we can handle payments the best way into Odoo. So like they're saying, okay, so I have my invoices. How do I link it the best with my bank statements to be able to have a perfect accounting? The answer to that is actually quite simple. Within Odoo, we have what you call a reconciliation model. So that is the best way to handle your payments, is to wait until you have your payments that arrive within your bank accounts to reconcile it with your open invoice, so that you're sure that the people that pay you always pay you the right amount on the right time. So what I can offer is to show you how to reach that. And basically, imagine that you have an invoice, and that you would like to see if that invoice got paid. What you do then is that you go into the customer invoices, and we will create an invoice for Jill. Right. Jill has purchased a mobile phone, you remember, and she was willing, because she is a mobile phone enthusiastic, to pay 8,000 euros for it, with 0% tax, because she is from the European Union. All right. What we will then do is save and validate the invoice. Don't forget, you can of course send it by email to Jill, so to be able to be sure that she will pay it on time, of course. Now, the first thing that you would like to do is, of course, is to register the payment. Now, you can, but you don't have to. Registering a payment here is more a way of being able to say, okay, if I received a proof from my customer that he did the payments, I can already register it as paid, so that I can continue on with my business, basically. Typically, well, for our case, within Odoo, what often happens is that a customer decides to have the help of another one of our consultancy teams, right? And he pays for his success pack. But he needs help immediately, so then our sales department will tell him, okay, if you can provide me with your payment proof, we can already validate your invoice, so that our consultants can start working with you, which is one of the cases where we can use the registered payment amount. What I would recommend, however, is not to use immediately the registered payment, but to wait to have received Jill's payments onto your bank account. So what happens then is that you have an open invoice here. In your accounting, you will import your bank statements. If you are an American company, you can synchronize your American bank accounts usually with Odoo, so that it imports automatically from your bank the bank statements. It's a very cool feature that is developed using Yodlee, but is unfortunately for now only available mainly for American banks. European banks and Asian banks being a little bit more protected, which makes it harder to propose that function. But even though, if you're Belgium, you can import SCODA statements, you can import OFX statements, so any basic reporting standards. So for now, we'll just create our bank statement manually and say that at the date of today, we received the invoice, the payment of the invoice of Jill for 8,000 euros, so for the phone, right? And we can even say, okay, that my partner was indeed Jill here, and that she got me 8,000 euros. What happens now is that I have to save and reconcile. By reconciliation, the system will automatically match and say, I have an open invoice for 8,000 here, right, which is this one for Jill, for the partner Jill, and I have received a payment. Is that correct? You say, yes, it's correct. I've received that on my email address, on my bank account, sorry. And what happens now is that if I go back into my dashboard and I go into my customer invoices, the payment of Jill has been received and is paid. All right. There is also a possibility to register partial payment. There is also a possibility to register Visa payments. But I will not get immediately into that, because I saw that we have some new questions. Louise, another question. I see on report sales can be set by date as day, week, month, etc. Can it be defined by hour, by default, or is it required to set up a module for it? So report sales can be set. Okay, so if I go into the reporting, I guess that, oh, I have to go into sales. So sales, so reporting, I go into sales, for instance, and you say that we can Okay, we can, what you mean, I guess, by date. Okay, so we can say it, so by dates, week, month, quarter, or year. I guess that is what you mean, right? Can we define by hour by default, or does it require a setup for a module by hour? The thing is that the order date, if I can have a look quickly, so at the sales order, the order date, the order date is a time, the confirmation date is a date time, all right, but the order date as well. So that should be normally possible. It's even maybe possible with Studio. I'm not the best customizer, so I can try something out, but I'm not 100% sure that my theory will work. So if I want to filter, I can filter it by another way and say I want to filter it on, maybe it's not a filter, it's a group by. So add a custom group. I want to filter it by filter name, model, user. I would like to add a new one actually. So what annoys me is that I'm not filter rules, that's not the one. Access control, reports, monetization. So filter name by hour. I'm not 100% sure actually, Luis. So it should be, I think it should be possible, but with customization. At the moment, by hour is not in the standard version. If you have Studio, I think that functional consultants should be able to do it, but I have to look a bit further into it, and it starts to become a little bit technical. So I will not get too much into that right now. Because it's quite complex to add a new filter. So if you ask or support, or if you have maybe some technical knowledge, it might be doable, but not in standard for the moment. Now we have a question from Manokar. Can you explain how to give salary rules for custom variables? That's Python code. So if you are referring to the salary grid, so to the salary reporting, which is the work of I forgot the name, I'm sorry. So if I close this one, okay. I guess that what you mean is to be able to use the, I forgot the name of the app. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. About the salary grid, I guess. So to use the salary grid within Odoo, the configuration of that requires Python code, and so to use certain variables, you have to know a bit of Python, and we can help you with that using a success pack and a technical consultant. But I cannot immediately explain to you how it works with custom variables, because I don't know enough about Python. I'm very sorry about it. I have 2 small minutes left before the break, so I'll try to answer one more question from Giadas Gems, 1206. I have 2 brands selling the same product stock. How do you advise multi-company setup? They share stocks, but they have separated clients. Oh, well, that's quite easy actually. If you go into the configuration of the multi-company, right, so you go into the settings, users, so general settings here, you say that you want to use multiple companies, right? Well, here, look, you can select to have a common contact book or a common product catalog. If you unselect this, it means that you will not be able to see the contacts from one company to the other, but you will be able to see the products from one to the other. So that's a way to solve your issue, I guess. Don't forget, indeed, then to put the companies as sister companies and not as child of them, because if one company is a child of another one, the main company will be able to see the child company, and so on, right? So try to do it this way, and normally it should solve your issue. Yes. So I'll try to answer the questions before taking my break. For Michael again, can you print a backdated customer statement for a specific date? What will be the status? I think that was possible for a backdated date. I'm not sure about the backdated dates. What you can do as from this is if you go on the customer here, you go Jill here, you have the customer ledger here, and you can have a custom date. So let's say that you have the start date here. I guess that you can change the end dates, and if we take like for last month, well, we have nothing for Jill last month because we just created her partner today. So it's possible with the partner ledger. So you simply go on to Jill, you click on customer ledger, and there you select your date at a specific custom date here. All right, Michael. Then Mohamed, hi, I want to know how to restrict the user for a specific post, not to see all posts. That's developments. So you have to change the record rules. That can be done in the technical settings under, so here basically. So by settings, you can go into the debug mode once again, and then into the technical and the security rules. So the security rules here, and in the security rules here you can change the rules to meet that needs, but that is dev normally, so that is development. If you do not have technical knowledge, I do not recommend you to change those because it can be very dangerous. We do provide some services where we can provide that kind of solution for you on the module basically. All right. So if you don't have technical knowledge or technical consultants, you can always go to our sales department, Mohammed, to ask them for an estimation of how much it would require. All right, I'm a bit too late for the break. It's 12:17. I will take a 10-minute short break now, and I will get back to you guys as soon as possible. You can always stay tuned, tweet about our live session, if you like it, don't hesitate to give us a thumbs up, don't hesitate to give us a donation potentially, because we're doing this for free, and I will see you guys back in a minute. All right. So I'm back after this short break. Thank you very much for holding with me. We still have 16 persons looking back to us. So we have until 1 p.m. To close this this session. I will first come back to the question of Michael. So I will first get back to the question of Michael regarding the lot numbers that you cannot add after that you put an updated quantity on hand. And actually, there is no small trick when you validate an inventory movement. So for the mobile phone here, for instance, so you go into the sales order, you go into quotation. So you take the next. So you take the products, right? So give me a moment. So you take any product, and we notice that we had a mobile phone, and we have 14 units on hand. But we use the quantity on hand here to add 10 mobile phones, and not to add any serial numbers. So the thing is that once those entries are validated, you cannot change them again. What you can do is correct the inventory on hand by doing an inventory adjustment. So you can go into the inventory. You can go into the inventory control and the inventory adjustments, and you can say, okay, I want to do an inventory for my mobile phone. So it's only one product only, right? Mobile phone serial numbers. All right. You will look for your mobile phone here. You will save and start the inventory. He will tell you that the real quantity is 14, but you know that for those real quantity, you have actually 10 that are not marked. So what you have to do then is say, okay, actually my real quantity here, if I edit, is that it's set to 0, right? So to 4. So those are the real quantity into 4. But that I have 10 for the mobile phone here. I have a real quantity of 10 with the serial number 12234. Right? That way, you know that you have a real quantity of 10 for that person. So you will have a total of 14, right, of the mobile phone. But with 10 pieces that will have the lot of serial number 1234. If you save and you validate the inventory, what happens then is that you go back to your sales and to your catalog with products, right? Mobile phone, you still have 14 on hand, which is good, which is what we wanted. If we go watch the 14 on hand, you will have 10 that have the serial number 1234, exactly like we wanted it to be. So, Michael, that is the way to use it. You have to do an inventory valuation and cancel virtually the amounts where you did not put any serial number in, and add back the amounts with the serial number. Best way is, if you want my opinion, is to put the serial number immediately when your products enter, because it's quite bizarre, in my opinion, to go from one back to the other. Then we have Mohammed. So for a specific puzzle, I answered that already. And then we have again, that's James. Related to my last question, might you explain the difference between multi-company and intercompany? Well, the intercompany operations are you can configure your multi-company to have links between them. So typically, if you go into the settings here, right? You can say into the general settings, you can say, okay, I use multiple companies and I want to use intercompany transactions. So for that, I will use a company 1. We have live support 1. I will call another company Cedric Co. Right? I hope that everything is online here. Here we go. And so now I have two companies, Cedric Co and my live support. So I can say that I want my multi-company, but I want also my intercompany, right? And in my intercompany, it will be that, for instance, if I make a sale order to one company, I want it to make a purchase order into my other company. So that those are the intercompany exchanges, basically. So if I then go back into my configuration, I go back into the general settings, I go into my company settings, so I go into companies here. I can go into Cedric Co and have intercompany rules and say, I want it to create a sale order when I'm buying from this company, and I want it to create a purchase order when selling to that company, right? And I save. Then I can do the same thing in the other company and say, I want it to create a sale order when buying from that company and create a purchase order when selling for that company with this warehouse. What happens is that I will give my user the right to go to the other company. All right, so we go to settings, I manage my access rights, and I give my user here the right to go into my other company. Save. Now, what you can notice here is that I only have one user. So I have one user, which is the administrator that handles both company. That is risky. So if I can give you a good advice is never, 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 never use the administrator to work within your companies. With that, when I mean work, is to make purchase orders, make sale orders, make invoices for real clients. Of course, you have to use the administrator to configure your database, but do not use it for everyday work, because that is very, very dangerous. As with the administrator, you see everything from the different companies, so you can easily, and you have no rules. So I can easily make the mistake of creating a invoice, for instance, on another company. You know. So please be careful with that. Then what we can do with the multiple company here is that we will. So we will click on here. So we will go into my live support company, right? And if I create a sale order, I create a sale order here, and I will create a sale order for my company. I have to have the user. That's a bit strange. So I will have the contacts. I have a look. So we have Cedric Co here. So Cedric Co should be, of course, a customer of mine as well in my contacts. So if I go into the sale order, that's not what I wanted to do, sorry. So if I go into my sale order, I create a new sale order, I create it. I will select the customer, says Cedric Co, so which is my other company, and ask them, and they sell to them a mobile phone. Once again, right? Maybe not a mobile phone because I have to do with lot numbers. So I'll sell them a car, right? Sell and confirm. We'll have a price of unit price of, let's say, I don't know, 1,000. Right, and here we go. Once I confirm my sale order, I will have one delivery, and I sold to my Cedric Co company, right, which is my other company. Which means that if I go into Cedric Co now, right, and that I go into the purchases, I will have one purchase automatically created from my vendor live support, right, for my car of 1,000 euros. That way, I'm sure that I have no mismatch between the sales I make or between the exchange I made between my different companies. So, in other terms, having a multi-company is being able to have different companies within a same base, and having intercompany rules means to have the possibility to create automatically a purchase or a sale order, or even an invoice, a vendor invoice, or a draft client invoice between those companies. All right. So that is the main question between. That's the answer for the main difference between multi-company and intercompany. Yeah, that's. All right. We answered all of the questions at this time. I don't know if you guys have any more. As it is already 35, I don't think I will start a new subject in terms of demos. What I can do eventually in the meantime is maybe wait. Maybe show you the rest of what we can do using a accounting reconciliation model, right? So I'll go back to my company with live support. All right, and so in my company with live support, we were saying that when you had an invoice, you can reconcile them immediately with a payment. Now, what you can do as well is reconcile a payment that you registered on the invoice with an incoming bank statement, right? You can as well say that, for instance, an invoice is not totally paid because it did not provide you with the right amount. So if we are on accounting, and we have the customer invoice, we will duplicate this sales and once again have a phone sold to Jill for 8,000 euros. Right. Once again, we go back into our bank account and we will create a new bank statement. I will simply as well duplicate this one to have the exact same one. Right. But Jill this time tries to pull a trick on us, and she wants to pay less for her phone. So she will not pay us 8,000, she will pay us 7,000 in the hope that we do not notice it. Of course, because you use Odoo, that is not possible, you will notice it anyhow. So you save it and you receive the 7,000 euros. Now, it doesn't match. Why? Because the invoice 2 here has a different amount. So it says this is probably not the right payment. But you know that it is the right payment and she's trying to pull a trick on us. So you can say, indeed, this payment of Jill is linked with this invoice. And either one you have two choices. You say, well, look, she didn't pay the exact amount, but I don't care because Jill is a very good customer and I would like to give her a 1,000 euro discount. So I will say nothing. Usually when it's about 1,000 euros, you don't do that. You will tell them, that no, you want to have the full amount. So you have the explanation point here where you can click it to have an open amount. So you click on it and now you will say, I have this invoice for 7,000 but not the rest. So you click on reconcile, and when reconciled, you can go back to your invoices, and you will notice that, look, we have the invoice for Jill, but we had a total due of 8,000, and we have still an amount due of 1,000, because we have received one payment, but not all of it. And that way we can say to Jill, hey, could you please provide us with the extra 1,000 euros. That's the way of doing it. Louison that says thank you for your hard work. That's you're very welcome. Thank you for your thank you. And I hope that we will see you again some other time. Please don't hesitate to join us to the Odoo experience. We would like to meet all of you guys, of course. Okay, so for the moment we have no new questions in the chat, so people are just following, I guess. Don't hesitate to add any more questions if you have one. Because otherwise I think I might have to close the session a bit earlier to be able to have lunch, which would be great, of course. But if you have any more questions, I don't want to disappoint some of you that were still counting on the last 20 minutes to ask your questions. So what I will do is that I will do one more case. I'll do one more case regarding the Odoo accounting with a payment. This time with a Visa payment, which is a bit longer. If I don't have any more new questions after the case, I will consider that we had an awesome session and that all of the questions in the world about Odoo has been answered, which is amazing. And close a bit early to be able to have a good lunch, and I will then hope that you guys won't be disappointed. So just so you know, oh, okay. So we have one more here. Hi, can I use landed cost feature with average costing methods? That's a good question. Normally, yes, you can use the landed cost feature with average costing methods. It should be possible. So maybe you could be a bit more precise. Did you test it out already? Because normally with the landed cost, you can just add landed cost on the under the different products that you purchase, and then in your inventory, if you have an average costing method, it will simply count the average cost of the products that are entering. But indeed, will it then include the average landed cost with that valorization? That is something that I'm not 100% sure. I prefer, if you don't mind, I'd like that you ask it to our support department to be completely sure. Normally, yes, I would say yes, but it's not my strong suit, so I'm a bit afraid that I'm saying something wrong here. So normally it is possible, but if you have some more questions, please ask it to our support department to have a secure, a 100% sure answer. All right. Then we have one more from Mohammed. In the inventory adjustments, is there a difference in quantity? Is there a difference in quantity? And you validate it. Where is the effect in accounting, and what entry is generated? In accounting, what you have to understand is that you have two main ways to do your to link your accounting thing with your inventory. In the inventory, either you do so a valuation one time a year, and then it's something that you do one entry to evaluate your inventory every year, and then of course nothing happens. Now, if you do an inventory adjustment and you have a real price valuation, the accounting entry will be generated depending on the moment on what is your costing method. So if you have a real price and that you enter a new and that you do an inventory adjustment, it is important to specify the cost on your product, and depending on how much new products are entering into your inventory, it will adapt depending on how you configured your accounts into the product categories. Actually, it's a long configuration to set up real-time inventory valuation, so I won't be able to show it to you, but normally the inventory valuation should adapt if you have indeed a cost on your different products, especially if you use the average accounting. But Odoo forces my products should be in real price when I try to use it. Okay, so then it means if Odoo forces you, then it means that you should be in real price, Aziatak. I guess that the reason is that real price is only computed when real price is computed when you have products entering your warehouse, whereas average price is computed when you have products leaving your warehouses. If you have indirect costs with the fact that the products are entering into your warehouse, maybe that is the problem with the average costing method, is that it will only compute the price once you sold it, but it's complicated for the system to find back indirect cost once your company goes out. So if Odoo forces you, then I guess that is the only way that we provide that solution for the moment. If you want more information, maybe once again try with your support department, because it's not my best strong suit. In Belgium, usually we use a temporary, so we use a periodically inventory evaluation, which allows us to only do the inventory evaluation once a year, basically, and not to force it. Okay. Again, yes, that says thank you, great answer, great work from you. Thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure. All right. So what I wanted to show you before we'll go offline for today here in Belgium is that you can also use the inventory accounting with the registered payment function. All right. So that will be the last case that I will show you today. After it, I will try to maybe close the session. Basically, if you duplicate the invoice here, we can validate it again and say, okay, we always we resell to Jill a mobile phone, right? So we register our payment and say she has provided us with the payment proof, right? So it's supposed to arrive on our bank. So we validate. At this point, our invoice is set as paid, even though we haven't entered at this stage our bank statement. So what we then can do is go into accounting, into the dashboard, and wait for that payment to arrive. So when the payment finally arrives, we have our bank statements here. We reduplicate it and say that it is for 8,000 euros, right? We save, we reconcile, and what will we see now? We will see that actually we don't reconcile it with an open invoice anymore, because look, we still have our 1,000 from our previous example. But we have the possibility to reconcile with a payment. So we already booked the payments. So in the accounting, the payment is received, even though it hasn't been received in the bank statements. So now we have to say, okay, we effectively received that payment in the bank receipt, and link the account here with the bank statement that is in a payment. If you want to know if you're reconciling it with an entry, with an invoice, or with a payment, the payments are in blue here. I don't know if you can see it well on the shared screen. This is in blue, whereas a normal invoice would be in black. So we reconcile it, and you have then reconciled your payments that you booked on your invoice before booking it in the real-time accounting. So Bilal is asking how to make a payment order on booking payslip through payroll. That is quite complicated. The payroll module, if I'm not mistaken, because it's not the app where I have the most experience on, the payment, so the payslip will give you the amount. So if you configure the payroll module well, will give you the amount that is to be paid to every customer, if I'm not mistaken. Now, there is not, I think, at this moment, a function to generate a payment immediately into the Odoo accounting. What you have to do then is create an accounting entry where you book the payments basically in your accounting with a miscellaneous operation. Now, to be completely honest with you, Bilal, I'm not 100% sure about this functionality. If you want to be 100% sure, I would advise you to go into odoo.com/help and ask your support department directly. But in my opinion, we don't have a function to immediately order the payments from the payroll, for the same reason basically that it's complicated to push payments within a bank account. It all depends. It all depends on the. It all depends, of course, on your country, but usually we don't push payments within a bank account. So is there any module for it? Not of my knowledge. There might be something into the community if you're in the enterprise version, but that is something that you have to look in the App Store, because we do not support in online. I'm sorry. So in online we don't support the community modules. There might be something for it into the community, but I'm not sure. So that's something that you should check into our App Store. Sorry not to be able to be a bit more precise, but I'm telling you, if you want to be certain about my answer, maybe double check with our support team to be sure, because I'm not the biggest expert in payroll. All right, so I think that we make the round of all the different, all right, thanks for your time and answer. I appreciate it. No worries, Bilal, and good luck finding the solution for your payroll module. I think that we did a round of the questions. We'll, for me, leave it for here for the moment. It was a pleasure once again to do the live support with you guys. I'm hoping to see you at the Odoo experience. Don't forget to register if you want to join us. And once again, we had some great answers from some people from the community. Don't forget that we are hiring if you're interested. So always go to odoo.com/jobs if you want to see what we can offer you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry, I had some trouble. And I'll see you guys in the next live session. Bye bye, and have a good day, everybody.